the Waluhyas who were part of the Mau Mau.
Yes.
We went to bury the father of the then executive director of NARC Kenya, Tabu, Omia Wanga, in Busia. And I learned during the burial that the father was part of Mau Mau, you know.
Tell us a little bit about the era of the first president. What does that mean for the country? What does that look like? Just explain to us from your perspective.
Let me say this, that after independence, after the flag was raised, I would overhear my parents or my mother, my grandmother, or my aunties discussing in our compound that the Mau Mau have demanded Jomo Kenyatta to meet them in the forest, at the forest edge. We call it Raini, you know, at the forest edge, so that they can come out. They are seeking audience before they come out of the forest.
So we get independence, but they don't come out.
Not all of them had come out, because you see, to see is to believe. It could be a trick. So Jomo Kenyatta never came to meet them, but high-ranking government officials, and I heard that people like Ngureti, the late Lucas Kamau Ngureti was once an MP, are going to meet them. So I am hearing conversation about Mau Mau getting audience to leave the forest. Yeah, so that's the first time I'm hearing about Mau Mau. And then I've gone to school. I'm in Kirugoya, standard 6. And suddenly there is Othing.
There's?
Othing, the 69 Oath, 1969 Oath.
Explain.
Where all people of Mount Kenya, excuse me, are trooping to Gatondo, to Jomo Kenyatta's home, to take oath. And where even school-going children are being asked to take oath. So I come home for holidays, and I'm told that even my younger brothers walked to go and take oath. The oath was being given at Kabare, so people were walking the 8 kilometers. A whole school, the people of age would walk.
And what was the oath?
The oath, as I heard it then, was to say for those of us from the mountainside that the presidency will not go beyond Mount Kenya. It will not go especially to the Luo nation.
Oh my God, this is literally...
Wamera, you know?
Yes. And
then I later come to learn now as an adult that the odds were two. The Kiambu people were saying that the kingdom or the leadership should never cross River Shania. So we are being duped. We are being duped not to give leadership to Luos, but we are not part of it. There is an oath for Kiambu for it never to cross River Chania. Because I was in boarding school, I never underwent oathing. Okay?
Martha, this is incredible.
But those who underwent, that's how I came to know what was being said. And then my father, at that time, was a born-again Christian, had become born again. My mother, they are the Tukutenderes, a group of the East African revival that swept the country around that time. So my father refuses to go for oathing. I'm hearing this conversation between my mother and my grandfather, my grandmother. My grandmother is blaming my mother
because
that she has encouraged my father not to go for oathing because she knows as a woman she may not be killed or beaten the way my father will be beaten. So she's sort of applying pressure on my mother to force my father to go for oathing. And I hear the conversation that they will come for him. There is fear that they will come for my father. They do not say who they are, but you know it's bad people. Because he's going to be either brutalized or killed. And we hear
because
reports,
of not going for oathing.
Yes, there are people already killed for not going for oathing in Kiambu and other parts of the country.
And this, by the way, let me say it, it is by your own.
You are being killed by your fellows because you have refused to be oathed. you know, on account of your faith. My father and mother were one of those who refused to go. What saved my father now from they coming for him? After brutalization of people, and especially around Kiambu, Bishop Kariuki, the Bishop of ACK, father to the former Attorney General, Kariuki, was our bishop, and he was close to the late Mzee Kenyatta. So I hear that Bishop Kariuki has gone to see Kenyatta about brutalization of Christians because of failing to take oath.
Yes.
That's what killed the they coming for him. So that saved my father and other Christians. Okay?
There's so much you are sharing, first and foremost, that I've never had, which I'm so grateful for. But then also I'm understanding it from a context of this. There's the Mau Mau, first and foremost, who we've gotten independence and they're thinking about coming.
Yeah.
That on its own is a story.
Yeah.
There's this, we call it the Mount Kenya region. That's what politically I'm hearing the word is, the Mount Kenya region. Yeah. This is literally the birth of it, if I'm not wrong.
1965. I think there's always been Mount Kenya because the Mau Mau movement was strongest in the Mount Kenya region.
Yes.
But as an adult, I've come to know there were Luhyas who were part of the Mau Mau.
Yes.
We went to bury the father of the then executive director of NARC Kenya, Tabu, Omia Wanga, in Busia. And I learned during the burial that the father was part of Mau Mau, you know? So there were people in other parts of the country. There were people from the Kamba Nation who were part of Mau Mau. But the concentration of Mau Mau was in the Mount Kenya region. Yeah.
This oath is such a shift in change because Raila's father, if I'm not wrong, and, and I think you can correct me on this, there was no tribalism. Raila's father was offered the opportunity, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, I think he was offered the opportunity to be the leader, but he said no on the basis of...
no Kenyatta, no Uhuru. That was the slogan, okay? So now because they've fallen out with Jomo, that time I didn't know much about the falling out. But I know about the oath because one of my brothers who was in primary school was among the kids who, because my parents sent for them on hearing they've gone, but one had already gone, and I'll not say which one. He's the one now as kids, you beg him to tell us what happened in the oathing, whatever. Wow. And he's telling us what they've been told. That poor child doesn't know what you mean by Wamera because he hasn't left Kimunye. He doesn't know even that there are other people. So you are telling him something he doesn't know. You see?
In an essence, this is the birth of tribal politics.
I think the solidifying of tribal politics because the colonial people tried to play one community against the other, you see?
Hence the separation.
But we are now adopting their method of divide and rule. Because why are we oathing to say that? Because why the Luo? Because Kenyatta has fallen out with Jaramogi.
Wow.
So Mount Kenya is to swear that we will never give it to the Luo. And you can see it has played it out.
But this is the foundation of where it came from. Two people who fell out.
They are also, Kiambu is also saying, only us. We are the firstborn of this nation, and we are the only child, the rest are adopted. You see? So, which just shows you that tribalism is itself not, negative ethnicity is never the thing. Yeah, so we learned what they were being told because at least my brother who was then a very young whatever, and it's one of the middle ones.
Yeah.
And we got to know what was being said. Yeah.
Oh, I want to just talk about one thing before we go on a 2-minute break.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about, because I know they may, again, I'm always aware that there's a generation that may not understand this, because I myself am learning a lot from you.
Yeah.
But there's this group of people called the Home Guard.
Yeah.
Could you explain it to our audience? Who are those people and what role did they play?
The Home Guards were the snitches because they're snitching on their people to the colonial regime.
Yes.
They are employed by the colonial regime to police their own people and snitch on them. Okay? But the home guards were given the advantage by the colonial regime. Their children went to school. They were prioritized in going to school. They were therefore pioneers even in government jobs. So they had advantage. But as I grew up, I learned of them through song. Okay? Because when we were thrashing...
You were being told about them?
I learned about them through song and through conversation. I remember a song we were singing when thrashing out millet. We used to plant millet. And the day of harvesting, you invite other women, mainly your friends and relatives. My mother would invite my aunties and some friends. We go harvest, then you come and keep the sheaves on the floor, you know, in between the houses. They would sort of cement, if you like. They would plaster it with cow dung and ashes, mixed with ashes. That would be the plaster. When it dries, it means you are removing too much dust. You're sort of plastering it. Then you keep the dried sheaves there, and then we thrash them with sticks. As we are dancing around it, because they made it fun by dancing around it, we are singing that when the home guards came, they started at Gashero's home. You know? So you now later will ask, what are home guards? Yes. And you are explained to. Home guard, so you now learn who are the home guards, who, when the colonial government is looking for people, they are the ones who come. And sometimes they would come to search houses, to round up people, something they were calling Mongororio. They are just going round houses, you know, rounding up people, you know, perceived wrongdoers or perceived allies of the Mau Mau. Yeah.
So the reason why there was a lot of the Westerners or the colonialists within this Mount Kenya region has to do with the fertility of the land.
Fertility of the land. But around my place, there were no large farms. They actually just came and took where the settlements came. Because the big farms start in Murang'a and Kiambu. Okay? Yeah. But still they were there because it's near the forest. You round up people, put them in villages. You are trying to be able to look out and to identify the Mau Mau, to stop the recruitment, because the Mau Mau would recruit willingly and also by force. If they come across you as a young man, they'll take you with them to the forest. They needed fighters. Yeah, they were doing us an honor.
Were they leaderless?
I think every organization starts as leaderless and develops leaders. Actually, when the Gen Z say they are leaderless, they are training themselves to take over. In Kikuyu terms, handing over of the baton to the next generation. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They are saying we are of age, here we come. Yeah. We are taking this over. We are home and we are equal to it. The Gen Zs have taken it.
They've taken
and
it.
Are running with it.
Yep.
Yes.
And are bringing about such positive change.
Yes,
Talking about change, we're about to go into high school. But this is so good. You can't share this. There's too much history here that is important, not just for you watching, but for those even who don't know we've done this conversation. So take this video, share it. We're coming back and we continue the transition into high school. See you in a bit.